As one of y'all pointed out, you can see here is my power steering tank. The reservoir mounts right here, and the pump is right there. Now you can see the top of the pump is about right here, which is about level with the top of this can. Now, I don't like relying on a little bit of something to maybe be lucky, and I was told that this reservoir actually needs to gravity feed into that pump. So, unknowingly mounted this here. I never really even thought about it. But now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stretch this tank so that the fluid level will always be above that pump. So I'm going to stretch it about 2.5 to 3 inches. What I did here was I took a piece of 1/2-inch masking tape, and there was an original lip on here. I don't know if you can see it. See this up. There we go. There's an original lip. You can maybe see it right under here. See that little lip there where they originally welded this together? So what I did was I rolled this 1/2-inch tape all the way around here, and that gives me a straight line to cut this so that I get a straight cut mark basically. Now over here, I already measured around this with a piece of string. You can also measure it and use the circumference calculation, which is right here. And I cut out a piece of steel that was the right length and 3 inches wide, and I rolled it to approximately the correct radius. It's close. So what I'll do now is I'll cut this up, and then I'll start working from one way to the other, tacking this ring into place and making sure it's all flush all the way around. And then I'll weld it around, and it'll be stretched. So it's a lot of work because this is just a little, I mean, this is thin. It's almost like freaking tin foil, so it's going to be a lot of work. You can see down here I had to weld on these fittings, and then I had to JB weld because I couldn't get them leak proof. But it is what it is. That's the best option I got at this point. I could raise the tank instead of stretching it, but this tank is already on the small side, so I figured I might as well just add to it. I was considering doing this in the first place, but I didn't want to do the extra work, and now it's just, I might as well. So I had this all welded up all the way around. Took my time, made sure it didn't get too hot. You can see it's a tad bit deformed there, so I'm gonna have to hammer that around a little bit. And then on the bottom there, I actually added like a little baffle, because this is where it mounts on the bottom, those 2 screws, 2 bolts. And when you put it on the frame, the flex of the bottom of this container actually made the whole thing flex a little bit, so I added that little baffle down there. Give it a little bit more support. I'm going to actually grind all these welds down, and then what I'm going to do here, I have this slightly cone shape so that this piece fits over the top, like that, like it kind of was before. And I'm actually just going to JB weld and sort of, oh, you can't really see, but inside there you can actually get your finger in there and get JB weld all the way around it too. So it took me about 2.5 to 3 hours to do this. I'm using my press here to hold it together. I put JB weld on the inside there, and I wanted to kind of press it tight so it creates a bond, obviously. And then I went around the outside also where I had any potential pinholes and just kind of layered it with JB weld, and I'll take that and kind of knock it down once it's set. Alright, so I'm working on this sweet ass Tinman head. See, the forehead looks huge. And inside there's actually like a little filter like I made, almost like an oil filter, where air and oil passes through there, and it's got these baffles in it so the oil kind of catches and pools versus just flowing through it. Most of the cheap oil catch cans do not have the baffles in them. You can see I have the baffled piece is about 2.5 inches tall, and then under here is the reservoir. The bottom part's the reservoir. The hat is going to go something like that, and then the bottom here I'm going to cap it off sort of like this, and then here's another extension of the tank, which is going to be the mounting bracket and the neck of the Tinman as well. So overall, with the neck and the head, this will hold about 1 quart of oil. Here's the jaw piece, and then I'll put a drain down at the bottom of this wherever this ends up being. You can see in there's a bunch of holes in that side filter, which will come through a regular filter. This is off a lawnmower, just a pre-filter. This one's dirty, whatever, but it'll work. And then on the back of this, I'll cut like a square box for the air to escape from, and it'll be filtered so that if there is any contaminants that somehow gets sucked through your reverse crankcase pressure or whatever, then this will stop the big particulates from getting inside the engine. And it also works basically as a big breather. It's kind of cool. This is one of a kind, custom accessory, custom badass. So this right here is a Bendix D2 governor. It's used to regulate the air compressor there. Plumbing this up today, and I have a whole bunch of new fittings and whatnot that I got from Nitrous Express, and a bunch of braided lines. You can see all the smaller ones in here, the 3A and N lines that I have plumbed to this, and then this other, see this one stainless line here, which will be going to distribution block, which will tell the the compressor when to shut off through this governor, basically. So today I'm plumbing this up, getting some of my other plumbing done. These lines right here are for my tranny cooler, so I can run those. You can see that I have the inside of my grill finally undercoated. I also have this front piece done, and I have like a air collection kind of thing, I guess. What would you call it? I don't know what you call it. In there. And then I also have this crazy contraption I'm working on here for an oil catch can, which is pretty damn cool. It's just tacked in there, and I'm doing all the hose fitment right now. Looks pretty good. I'll have to drill out holes in these valve covers and then JB weld on those fittings onto the valve covers. I guess that's about it for now. Just kind of installing stuff, throwing stuff together, getting to the final stages. Getting excited. It's gonna turn out pretty damn cool, I think. Probably, I'd say a month left, but this weekend we're gonna take apart this motor, throw in the new cam again, because last time the cam was too big and it had some problems, so pretty dope. Wild-Torquey. So right here I have the BK21 oil bypass kit, universal kit that I got, and then it's the EABP 100 filter. This is like an 80,000 mile bypass filter, which is absolutely insane. Right now what I'm doing is I'm making the bracket to mount this, so you can see that it has those bolt holes for 5/16 bolts, and it actually comes with a template. You can see I already put it on there. I center punched the holes, and right now I'm cutting it out along lines here, and then I'll take this plate and I will actually weld the studs onto it, so I can use this and just put it on the frame and then just kind of nut it onto the frame, basically. So this is nice. This template saves me a lot of time. No guesswork. I just center punch the holes, which are already cross-haired. Can't really tell, but there's little crosshairs in the center too. And I'm using a 1/4-inch plate here. And then this is all plumbed up using all the supplied fittings and hose and whatnot. So nice little setup. It'll save me some wear. And this is actually filtration down to 2 microns, which is the little stuff that creates engine wear. Most filters are about 25 microns. So this filter at 2 microns with the original style AMSOIL 25,000 mile filter, which is 20 microns, will make this thing almost bulletproof, hopefully. Fucking A. Sure, the music starts to play on its own. Piece of shit.
Business, blog, portfolio, or wedding.
YouTube don't let me play music. It's copyrighted, so. Anyways, little plug here, AMSOIL. I'm now a dealer, so if you're interested in one of these oil bypass kits, or if you need any other products, I use their products for just about everything. You can see I got the Metal Protect sitting out here. I got the degreaser out here. These are all these products almost daily, so if you need anything, I'm a dealer now. Put my dealer number in the video right here. If you're interested in becoming a dealer, you can also sign up under me. Gets you a little extra benefits and some discounts. Decent gig, make some extra money, why not, huh? Fund the hobby. Here I'm working on Torquey. You can see I have the transmission coolant lines, which I got from Nitrous Express. They're actually nitrous lines that are custom length and got custom ends on them for what I'm doing here. I got those ran up, and they will go inside the radiator once I get my B&M cooler mounted right here. But in the meantime, I'm actually working on some other transmission stuff. You can see the lines come into the transmission right here. There's the stainless lines, obviously, the 90-degree ends. The other one's up there. The feed up there. This is the return back here. And if you look on the Torque Flight 727, which is what this transmission is, it's an automatic transmission. It has this TPS. So you can see right here. Down in here is obviously the shifter linkage, which is pretty self-explanatory, this bottom one here. And the top one here is actually like a TPS, and it adjusts the line pressure inside your transmission based on where your throttle is at. So if you notice, when you usually drive a car, it shifts harder when you have more throttle. That's because there's more line pressure because of a TPS or something similar to this. A lot of new cars are electronically controlled, but this one happens to be manual. What I did, here's the original TPS control, or TV cable, I think they're called on these old ones. And then there's a bracket that's bolted to the side of the transmission now. And do that, and it's a little change using stock parts. Now you can see that TPS is hooked up in there. And I had to do an adapter here as well, so it's got a 1/4-inch nipple into the transmission, which goes into this 1/4-inch T. And then there's a A&N fitting here, 1/4-inch to 6 AN. And then right here, I used the trans temp sender that they sent, but I had to use a 1/4 to 1/8 inch reducer, which I was not supplied, but I had one on hand, so that worked out nice. So now this temperature sender is on the return line from my transmission cooler, so I have to keep that in mind when it's reading these temperatures. That is actually going to be the temperature of the fluid coming into the transmission, not leaving the transmission. I would have elected to rather have it on the hot side, but you can see there's barely any room in there for really the way it's set up as is, so I didn't really want to mess with all that because these are moving parts and whatnot. And up front here, I also could have elected to put it up front behind this grill where the trans cooler is, but I already had all the fittings plumbed, and there's really not that much room in there. You can't really tell, but this trans cooler is actually touching. The fan is actually touching this radiator. I wanted it as tight fit as I could, and I got it tight, so. And you can see I have these trans cooler lines coming up through this shroud. And I made this so that the shroud and whole radiator assembly can come off without pulling the lines off. So I can just pull this whole assembly right off. Overflow tank is in there and mounted. So you get a bracket in there. Got the hose that comes up. Got the hoses on the coolant pipes here. I got the valve covers off right now because I'm actually JB welding in my fittings. So these are drying right now, but you can see what I did was I just took a 1/4 20 bolt, about 2 inches long, with the plastic washer or any kind of washer, I guess, and I JB welded it and then tightened it together. And I'll let this dry overnight, and then I'll go around the outside with just a little bead of JB weld to make sure it's leak proof, and then inside also, you can't see it, but where this fitting comes in, there's a little bit of a opening there, so that will be a good spot for more JB weld. So obviously there's all 6 valve covers like that. Let's see. So once that dries, I can route these stainless lines that come off of this Tinman head. Now you can see I made a bracket that welds on to the where the original radiator fan, clutch fan mounted on the block. And I will rivet on this jaw piece once I know it's all complete. And I actually do still have to cut out a slot in the back so that it has airflow out. But yeah, it's gonna work out pretty tits, just tits. Working on the car here, I have the odometer water temperature sender in the back of this head. The original one was here. I just had to use a 3/4 to 1/2 inch MPT adapter, and then the supplied temperature sender for that. If you look down in here, you can see that brass piece down in here. That is the oil pressure sender. Now that comes off of one of these oil lines, which also goes down. It's split. It goes down into this AMSOIL bypass filter setup, which is down there. So you can see down in there, the way I got this kind of set up. You can see there's an 1/8 inch nipple that goes into the block there, and then it goes into a T, which goes into obviously the oil pressure sender and this line, and then this return line goes up into the oil fill hose, and it's a swivel fitting, so this mounts wherever. Shit. So a lot of y'all have been asking why the hell the car ain't done. Well, I gotta do running boards too. Me and my dad make these custom smoothing running boards. They're formed in a shop. You get these nice radius edges, whatever. And then we take and we actually pie cut all of these corners and form them all. Let's see. Formed around, then I have to go and weld all these up, and it takes a lot of time. They're plasma cut. I got about a dozen of them here I gotta do. These are all 37, 38 Chevys right here. If you're wondering why it takes me so long to do some of this stuff, I gotta do a normal job too. So everybody asking me, oh, is there an episode this week? Come on guys, just relax. It'll come as soon as it can.